Hi friends, welcome to IIBS IAS Academy YouTube channel. I am Ashok, Assistant Professor at IIBS IAS Academy, and I have been training from UPSC aspirants since the past 4 years. In this YouTube channel, we will be covering all the issues important for UPSC Civil Services Examination and also for the state public service examinations. Please do like, share, comment and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Welcome to IIBS IAS Academy. Today we are going to understand about the Farm Acts. Recently there has been a huge uproar. Since the past few months we have been seeing the farmers protesting and also the governments are protesting against the center. So what is the reason and what are these bills about? So we are going to deal about these farm bills. So what are the three controversial farm bills? And now we cannot call them as bills as the president has given as an assent. The president has signed the bills, then they became acts. So what are those acts about? What are the provisions involved and what is the controversies about? So we are going to understand about these farm bills, right? So the first one, the farmers have taken to the streets and protesting against the three bills on agriculture market reforms. So recently the government has made the agriculture market reforms. So how the market used to be previously for procuring the agriculture products has completely transformed now. And how it has transformed by the laws we are going to see now, right? That we have passed by the parliament, which have become laws after signed by the president, right? When the president signs a bill, it becomes an act. And the three farm bills are, the very first one, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act. So we are talking about services, right? So we are talking about services and about the protection on agreements the farmer can make. And the next one, the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, right? How he can sell the product, right? How he can trade the agriculture produce is about the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020. And the last one, the Essential Commodities Act of 2020. How the Essential Commodities Act, which was passed in the before 5 decades, has actually amended. So it has actually amended what are the essential commodities which were taken out from the list. So we are going to see that. The very first one, the bill on agri market, right? What is this bill on agri market? The Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill, right? Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce. So we are talking about how the farmer can actually sell his produce, to whom he can sell his produce. So we are going to deal with that. So what are the provisions involved? The very first one, to create an ecosystem where farmers and traders enjoy the freedom to sell and purchase the farm produce, right? So initially, because the agriculture is in the state list, that means the state can pass the laws on the agriculture and they can transform how the markets are actually taken care of. Right? All these things are under the control of the states. Now the center has made the laws on those particular state lists and it has passed an act. So now the previously whatever the ecosystem which was present, it was only in the localized area. Now what it is talking? It is talking about an ecosystem where the farmers can have the freedom to sell and purchase the farm produce outside registered mandis. The mandis are nothing but the local markets, right? So under APMC. APMC is nothing but Agriculture Produce Market Committee established by their own states. And the Agriculture Produce Market Committees actually procure the agriculture produce from the farmers and they will be selling it to the others or the industries or the food processing industries. But now, as per the new provisions, the farmer can sell his produce to anyone, irrespective of whether he will be selling it to the mandis or the private enterprise or across the state or across the nation. Wherever he may get a better profit, so he can sell the produce to that particular person, right? And the next one is to promote barrier-free interstate and intrastate trade of farmers' produce. So now whatever the barriers that were existed to transfer the agriculture produce to the other state or within the state to the other place, so all these have been removed. So there are no barriers for the farmer to sell his produce within the state or across the state. And the third one, to reduce marketing transportation costs and help the farmers in getting better prices, right? Most of the perishable goods are in agriculture produce. So those perishable goods will lose the quality when the transportation time is really high, because the cold storage facilities were also not so great. So what this provision has taken, it reduced the marketing or the transportation costs of the farmers, because the person who wants to buy the produce will actually come and approach the farmer. So transportation or the marketing costs were not there. And to provide, the last but not the least, to provide a facilitative framework for electronic trading. So there has to be a framework for the electronic trading where the farmer can actually upload this much of agriculture produce that is available with me with this particular price. So anyone, the industry or whichever the company that may be, so if it wants the agriculture produce, so it can purchase it from the farmer, right? In that way, we have to facilitate a framework for the electronic trading, right? So these are the provisions of Agri Market Bill. So what is the bill name? The Farmers, Producers, Traders and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation, right? So we will see why there is a controversy. Now we will see why there is a controversy, right? Why there is an opposition, right? So why there is opposition? The states will lose revenue as they won't be able to collect the mandi fees. Mostly the Haryana and the Punjab are actually fighting against this particular bill, because the mandis are established by the state government. If the farmer wants to sell his produce in the registered mandis, he has to pay a particular fee to the government. So that is how the state government is getting the revenue. Now that revenue will be lost because the farmer has no obligation to sell in the mandis, right? The state will lose the revenue as they won't be able to collect the mandi fees if the farmers sell their produce outside the registered APMC markets, right? That is one reason why they are fighting. And next one, what happens to the commission agents, right? There are many middlemen that were actually involved, and those all middlemen and the people working in the APMCs will actually lose their livelihood. That is one of the reason why the people are fighting, right? In the states, if entire farm trade moves out of the mandis, so what will happen to them? That is one of the other reasons. And it may eventually end the MSP based procurement system, right? It may eventually end the MSP. So what do you mean by MSP? Minimum support price, we say. That is the minimum amount of minimum amount of price that has to be given to the farmer to get the product, so that the farmer will not bear any losses, right? We call it MSP. And the government of India will give the MSP on set of agriculture produce, so that the farmer can sow them and get the sufficient amount of profit, right? That is what we call the MSP. And now they do not, and in the registered mandis they will be procuring the product with the MSP cost. So now the MSP might be eliminated, right? And when you are saying that they can trade with any other individual, that individual may bargain for lesser cost than that of the MSP. In that way, the farmer will not have any use, right? And the next one, electronic trading like e-NAM, National Agriculture Mission. National Agriculture Mission, e-NAM, is a portal where it is actually using the physical mandi system, right? It is actually mediating between the farmer and also the mandis, but physical mandis. So what will, there is already an electronic system, but it is using the physical mandi. So what will happen to the e-NAM if they do not have to sell in the mandis, right? So in the absence of the trade, what is the use of e-NAM? So these are the points where the opposition is actually raising concerns against the farm bill. The next bill is on contract farming. The next bill is on contract farming, and the name of the bill is the Farmer Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill of 2020, right? So the contract farming, that means the farmer can get contract from any of the industry or the agriculture, the downstream processing companies, and he can produce the required quantities of agriculture produce for them, right, at a specific price. What are the provisions involved? The farmers can enter into contract with agri businesses or processors, wholesalers, exporters or large retailers for sale of future farming produce. Future farming produce, that means whatever the agriculture produce they are about to harvest, on that particular produce they can have a contract for a set of period, 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or whichever the period that may be, they can have a contract with the agri business means of the processor, wholesalers, exporters or the retailers, right? With anyone they can have the contract, so that they do not have to worry about the produce, right? So whether the agriculture produce prices they fluctuate or not, so they can actually access, the farmer will not bear the losses, right? So the next one, the marginal and small farmers with land less than 5 hectares to gain via aggregation and contract, right? So in India there are large number of small scale or the marginal farmers, right, which have less than the 5 hectares. So what will happen to them? So all these farmers can accumulate the land and the resources and they can go for the contract, right? This is the provision is about. So the land less than 5 hectares of land, so they can aggregate and they can make the contract with the said stakeholders. Next one, to transfer the risk of market unpredictability from farmers to the sponsors. Whoever the person who is making the contract, so in the contract itself there will be a price predefined. So the fluctuations of the price will not impact the farmers. And to reduce the cost of the marketing and boost farming income. So this is one of the reason why we have established it. And farmers can engage in direct marketing by eliminating the intermediaries. So intermediaries are the reason why most of the agriculture produce burden is actually being borne by customer. The farmers are getting very less income because the middlemen are purchasing the raw materials at a very less cost and they are selling it to the industries at a very larger cost. The intermediaries are getting benefited rather than that of the farmers or the consumers. Now when you eliminate the intermediaries, the cost of the produce will actually decrease. And effective dispute resolution mechanism and the redressal timelines. So when you are talking about the contract with the enterprises or the industries, so obviously there has to be a proper redressal mechanism so that the farmer can address his grievances and the justice has to be served in the timely manner. So those provisions were also given. And why there is an opposition, right? So the farmers in contract farming arrangements will be the weaker player in terms of their ability to negotiate what they need. So when a farmer is actually negotiating with a company, so obviously he will be on the losing side because he doesn't know what law is, how the contracts are actually made, what is the just and what is unjust, right? All these things he do not know. He knows to produce the agrarian product. So after that, how it is being sold, he doesn't know. So because of that, when making a contract, he may be at the losing end, right? He may not get as much profit as he thought he would come, right? The bargaining would be very difficult. And the sponsors may not like to deal with a multitude of small and marginal farmers. As we were saying, in India we have the large number of the small scale and the marginal farmers. So while dealing with them, the sponsors may not be interested in dealing with them or making a contract with them because they have the smaller land. So there is no proper demarcation that if we invest this much of money, this much produce will actually come. So because of this, they may ignore the small and marginal farmers. And being big private companies, exporters, wholesalers and the retailers or the processors, the sponsors will have an edge in the disputes, right? Because they are really big companies, they may have a better edge in the disputes, right? So the justice may not be always in favor of the farmers. So this is one other problem why the opposition is actually fighting against the bill. Next one, bill related to commodities, right? Essential Commodities Amendment Bill of 2020, which has become an act, right? Which has become an act now. So what are the provisions, right? To remove commodities like cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions and potatoes. So these 5 things were removed from the essential commodities list. And why? What is this essential commodities list? There are a few commodities which has to be protected by the government so that the price fluctuation will not be more, right? There should not be any inflation or the black marketing of these particular products because most of the people will be using those agrarian products. They have to be made available to the customers or the consumers. So that's why we have the Essential Commodities Bill, and it was amended in 2020 and it has removed cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions and potatoes. So what is this means? What is this removal of these 5 things means? It will do away with the imposition of stock holding limits, right? So what the government has to stockpile the commodities or the other one or the private stockholders. So they do not have any limitation that they have to stockhold these particular agrarian products, right? They can sell or export it to the other countries, so they can do whatever they want, right, of such items except under extraordinary circumstances, right? Extraordinary circumstances in the sense in the times of war. In the time of war, there may be a agrarian crisis. Not everybody can do agriculture, the agriculture during the war. So in those particular times, so we have to store the food materials so that the future needs will be met. And this provision will attract the private sector and FDI into the farm sector, right? Because they can they can invest in the cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions or the potatoes industries, right? They can invest in those particular industries. The foreign direct investments of the private sectors may invest in the agriculture. In India, we have 100% FDI in the agriculture produce. And it will remove fears of private investors of excessive regulatory interference. Now, on this particular produce, there won't be any excessive interference, right? Regulatory interference on this particular product, so they can easily invest and get the profits. And to bring investments for the farm infrastructure like the cold storages and modernizing the food supply chain management. So all this modernization and the cold storages, because we do not have enough cold storages to stockpile the essential goods. So those can be improved, and to help both the farmers and the consumers by bringing the price stability. So we can bring the price stability and to create competitive market environment as well, right? And so we can reduce the wastage of the farm produce. And why there is a opposition? The reason why there is an opposition is what extraordinary circumstances we are actually quoting. What extraordinary circumstances we are quoting, that may rarely come, and it will be highly centralized law, right? So the Essential Commodities Act is highly centralized law where the states doesn't have any role to play, right? It will infringe upon the state powers as they will not be able to regulate the menace of hoarding and the black marketing. So it can actually increase the black marketing, right? They can they can take the produce from everyone and they can sell it back to the customers at a very higher price. So the black marketing will be there and the hoarding will be there. This is any serious issue, and the stock limit relaxations under the ECA may lead to the black marketing and the hoarding rather than benefiting the producers. So if the hoarding and the black marketing is actually happening, it will not benefit the producers, right? It will not benefit anyone. Only the middlemen who are actually doing this particular kind of thing will be benefited. And this will lead to the increase in the inflation and the monopoly of the few individuals over prices of certain goods. Right? Because of this, only few individuals will have an edge or the monopoly on the farm produce, right? This is the opposition. So because of these three bills, right, we have the controversy, but in a large it is actually benefiting the farmers, because the farmers can make the contracts, but there should be a proper mechanism by which the farmers can address the issues, right? So this is about the farm bills, and we will meet again with the next topic. Thank you. Please do like the video, and if you have any queries, please put down in the comments below and we will be making videos on those areas. And please click on the bell icon and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.